What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the 2022 Subaru Outback Touring XT. And of course, we've got it in my favorite color combination for the Outback, which is this autumn green metallic with the brown leather seats on the inside. Absolutely beautiful. We're going to be covering everything that the Touring XT here has to offer in this video, but I have a plethora of other videos on the Outback. If you want to learn every single thing there is to know about your Outback, I have a top tech video over on my tech channel, Matt's Tech. I'll have that linked above and in the description. I've also made a secret features video on the Outback, so if you want to learn every little tiny thing about your Outback, definitely check that video out. So the Outback here was fully redesigned back in 2020, so here only 2 years later, you're not going to really expect to see many changes, if any. We have two sort of significant changes to the standard Outback itself, and then of course we had the introduction of the Outback Wilderness, which I've made 2 videos on. I made a full review of it. If you're interested, again, I'll have it linked below, as well as a comparison between the Outback Wilderness and the Onyx XT. So if you're interested in that, it'll be linked down below as well. So other than that, the only 2 changes here for 2022 are the addition of full LED headlights on the base model. So basically LED headlights are now standard across the Outback lineup, as well as the addition of rear vents for backseat passengers in the base model. So those are the only 2 major additions for 2022, other than of course the Wilderness trim. But let's go ahead and get into this Touring XT. So starting up front, as we always do, under the hood, of course, since this is the XT engine, it's the 2.4 liter turbocharged boxer engine, 260 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque, 30 miles per gallon highway, 23 miles per gallon city. Now, of course, if you get the standard Touring, you'll get the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine, which has about 182 horsepower. So a little bit of a horsepower difference there for sure. You'll also get increased towing capacity here with the XT turbocharged engine. LED headlights as well as LED fog lights down underneath, which is a great touch. But looking at this front grille here, it's nothing we haven't seen before. It looks like a very standard Subaru or Outback grille. Big old Subaru badge. You have your 180-degree front-facing camera, which again, if you've watched my Wilderness video or any of my other Outback videos, you know that I have been severely disappointed in the quality of that 180-degree front-facing camera. It is not good quality at all. Neither is the rear camera, and I think Subaru should definitely improve in that regard. But the fact that you have it if you are going to take your Touring XT off-road, not a bad thing to have at all. But I mean, the front fascia here is pretty simplified. You have, again, that big Subaru badge, a little bit of a satin piece here, some chrome trim around the mouth here, body colored piece that splits it, then your very typical Subaru plastic cladding there, and then another satin piece down at the bottom near the cooling area, and then of course those LED fogs as well. The Wilderness here sits on 18-inch aluminum alloy wheels, really nice design on these wheels, plastic cladding around them. If we move on back, you've got some chrome trim that runs around the windows here. It's a little bit interesting that seeing that as this is the Touring XT, that they kept the chrome trim instead of, you know, doing the kind of blacked out trim that they normally do. But I guess since this is the top trim, they're trying to make it a little bit more premium looking. And in that same vein, these mirror caps here, kind of a 2-tone mirror cap, a little bit of the black plastic up underneath, a little bit of a chrome accent, and then the mirror caps themselves are a satin. They are power folding mirrors, heated, blind spot monitoring, integrated turn signals, the whole 9 on these bad boys. Not bad at all. Moving on back, you do have this chrome strip that splits the door handle here. You do have Subaru's keyless access system here. Just has a nice little pad on the door handle here. You can push, it will lock, the mirrors will fold in, and then you can put your hand inside, it will unlock, and the mirrors will unfold. Up top, you do have the roof rail system here, silver roof rails with the crossbar system built into them, and you have a sunroof as well. And of course, standard on all Outbacks, we do have the award-winning EyeSight driver assist system, which includes a plethora of safety features: forward collision warning, front pedestrian braking, rear automatic braking, blind spot monitoring, advanced adaptive cruise control with lane centering, which we'll take a look at in just a second, and in our test drive of the Outback here. Just a plethora of safety features. You really can't go wrong, and they give most of these to you standard, which is fantastic. So moving to the back of the Outback here, a little bit of a spoiler. tinted rear glass, rear wiper. You have these sculpted taillights here, again, with this black cladding around them. It's a really nice touch, makes them look really unique, especially from the side. You've got parking sensors dotted around this plastic cladding at the bottom, again, with a satin piece down up underneath. Like I said, the towing capacity is increased here on the XT. You go from about 2,700 pounds to about 3,500 pounds of towing capacity with that turbocharged engine. Subaru badge, standard rear camera. You got your Subaru badging, your symmetrical all-wheel drive badging, Outback badging, and your Touring XT badging over here on the right side. You do have dual exhaust tips up underneath, but they're a little bit hard to see because they're covered by that kind of black cladding underneath, but they are there. Now you do have a hands-free power liftgate here on the back of the Outback, and it remains the only Subaru model that can take advantage of the hands-free wave to open feature. So you can open it in a plethora of ways. You can use the key fob, you can hit the button next to the rear camera, and then of course, if the vehicle is locked, you can walk up and place your hand or wave your hand in front of the Subaru badge. It will beep a few times, and then it will open up for you and reveal a generous amount of cargo space back here. 32.5 cubic feet of cargo space with the rear seats up. If you fold those down, you get about 75.7 cubic feet of cargo space. And you have things like a cargo shade. You have an all-weather mat back here. You do have your touring cloth mats back here that have the little bit of brown leather trim around them. Up onto the floorboards, you have all kinds of tools back here. And then if you lift it up one more time, you do have access to your spare tire back there. A 12-volt outlet on the right side. And then you have these little handles here that you can pull, and it will drop your second row seats for you. And then of course you do have your trunk lowering button as well as your locking button. And if you hit the locking button, the tailgate will close and it will lock the entire car. So if you're walking away from unloading groceries and you don't want to have to lock the car, that is a very simple way to do it. And again, like I mentioned, I have made a secret features video here for the Outback. And just as a little spoiler, there's a little button right up underneath here that you can use to program a secret code to get access to your Subaru Outback without needing the key fob. You definitely don't want to miss that video. Check it out as soon as you finish watching this one, but let's go ahead and hop inside the cabin. All right, so hopping inside this beautiful cabin, I've said it before and I'll say it again, the Java brown Napa leather interior inside these autumn green Subaru Outbacks, you just can't beat it. It's this like caramel apple contrast, and it is my favorite looking interior on any Subaru out there. So let's start with this leather wrapped heated Subaru steering wheel. You've got your media controls over on the left side. You have your advanced adaptive cruise control and lane centering controls on the right side. Again, heated button up underneath. You have paddle shifters as well for your 8-speed manual mode with your high torque lineartronic CVT that you've got here. And then you've got your light controls and your wiper controls behind the steering wheel. Right past the steering wheel, like I said, you have 2 analog gauges, and then you have a little digital color cluster in between that you can see some of your safety systems on. You can see your adaptive cruise control. You can see your lane centering. You also have your driver focus distraction mitigation system. And then the actual infrared cameras for that system are right here in this little strip above your infotainment center. Over on the left side, you have your trunk height adjust button. You can turn your wave to open feature off. You can adjust the brightness of your displays. It is a manually tilting and telescoping steering wheel right here. You have an auto-dimming rearview mirror here with universal HomeLink garage door controls and a compass built in. It's a really premium looking mirror. Sunglasses holder up top, sunroof controls right here. We can go ahead and close that right up. Now moving back down to this infotainment center, you guys have probably seen it in a million places. I've made so many videos on it. I've made a full in-depth review of this system. Definitely check that out. I've made an updated CarPlay video when they fixed CarPlay for me finally. And I've of course made my tech features video and talked about this screen in depth. I have so many Outback videos, guys. If you want to know every square inch of your Outback, just watch them all and you'll be able to tell your friends everything there is to know about the Outback. Now this system has some pros and has some cons, but let's go ahead and turn it on with this push to start button here. So this screen is basically divided into 3 sections, right? You have the top section, which is your vehicle information and your widgets, the bottom section, which is your climate control, and then the middle section, which is everything else. And that section amounts to about 8 inches of vertical screen space. So you have access to your built-in navigation powered by TomTom, Sirius XM radio, AM FM radio, your media, you have your apps, you have your vehicle info, you have the My Subaru app, you have Subaru Starlink. You also have wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which they finally fixed again to fill out the entirety of the screen, whereas it used to just take up this tiny little horizontal portion of the screen that looked awful, but now they fixed it so it fills the whole screen up, so no worries there. Then of course you can gain access to your 180-degree front-facing camera as well as your rear camera. You can do the front camera by pushing this button right here. and it will show you your just miserably low resolution camera for the year 2022 here. And then of course your rear camera, if you go in reverse there, which again is just as bad resolution wise and only takes up about 6 inches of screen space horizontally on a vertical screen, which just I can't wrap my head around. So that is my biggest con about this system, is just how bad your front-facing camera and your rear camera look on this system. Subaru has got to fix that in upcoming gens, and I think they will once they get around to kind of doing the mid-model refresh of this vehicle. One nice thing that they added to this system relatively recently is they put your auto start stop engine disable button right on the home screen, which is a very, very nice feature because you can just turn that off the second you get in. One other thing that I think is a little bit of a con is this climate control system. Now it's a dual zone climate control system, so individually assignable temperatures for driver and passenger that can be synced or not. And the temperature can be adjusted using these buttons on the display itself, these physical buttons. You can enable it, turn the fan speed up and down, turn the AC on and off, change the position, and then you can also turn your temperature up and down using the slider or by tapping on these arrows. And then you can sync the systems as well if you want same temperature for driver and passenger. It's just a little bit clunky and a little bit hard to use when you're not looking as the driver. So I think for passengers, it's great. It's a, you know, modern system, a new age climate control system. But for driver, while driving, it can be a little bit distracting from the road. You know what I mean? Moving on down from that, you have your electronic parking brake. You have your Qi-enabled wireless charging pad, which we added as an option here on the Touring XT. 2 USB-A ports, a 3.5mm jack. You have your shift knob here for your Lineartronic CVT. Again, you have that 8-speed manual mode using the paddle shifters. There's only really 2 buttons here on the center console here, so it's a nice clean design. Just that electronic parking brake and your 180-degree front-facing camera button. That's it, nice and simple. 2 nicely sized cup holders here. Again, they do have these little pucks, so you can take them out for easy cleaning. Inside the center console, it's a 2-parter, so the top part is just this flat area with a little bit of a rubber mat on it, and then you can lift that up and you have access to a 12-volt outlet and a CD player right here, which is nice. They took that off of the big screen here and put it inside the center console. Harman Kardon premium audio system here on the Touring. Now, as far as seating surfaces go, you do have these Napa leather seats here in Java brown. Absolutely beautiful. They have perforations down the side, a little bit of contrast stitching as well. The driver is a 10-way power adjustable with lumbar support and position memory. The passenger is also a power seat. They are heated and ventilated for driver, which is awesome, and heated for rear seat passengers as well. And the Java brown leather material runs throughout the entirety of the cabin. You have it here on the center console, again, like I said, on the seats. Over here on the door panels, you have a little bit of a hard touch version of the color, but then you have this same leather with the contrast stitching on the actual arm bar part. It also runs around kind of the center console, the gauge cluster over to the passenger airbag side as well, and it blends really seamlessly with the other colors that you have going on in the cabin. Just a very premium look overall. And kind of to top it all off, even though it's not my favorite look, you do have a lot of piano black plastic around here. Now, it's not terrible. It's not on every square inch of the car to where it just gets, you know, completely covered in fingerprints, but in the areas where it does exist, it is a little bit of a fingerprint magnet, so it wouldn't hurt to have like a microfiber cloth or some kind of little textured pad that you could kind of rub off some of that smearing grease and fingerprints, you know, especially since this is a family car and there's going to be a lot of little grubby fingers on everything. Hopping to the back seat here, again, super comfortable seats, some of the most comfortable I've ever sat in. Plenty of headroom here, nice shoulder room. You could definitely comfortably fit 2 adults back here. 3 is definitely pushing it. You have the center console that folds down, 2 cup holders here and a nice armrest, but 2 adults back here, no problem. You know, I'm about 6'1", and this driver's side seat is actually pretty far back. If this were up a little bit closer, I'd have a lot more legroom, but you can tuck your feet up underneath if you need to. Mat pocket on both driver and passenger seats. You do have rear vents, like I said, 2 USB-A ports for charging, and then heated seats for your rear seat passengers. So a super comfortable back seat. And in fact, you can even lean these seats back a little bit with these little handles on the side here. So you can really get yourself comfortable here. Plenty of space. All right, so we're gonna take the 2022 Outback here for a little bit of a spin. Let's go ahead and get a start up. So let's go ahead and get going. Again, this is the 2.4 liter turbocharged boxer engine, 260 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque. Let's go ahead and get it out here on this main road. And give it some juice. So it's not by any means slow. I mean, this is a relatively heavy vehicle, so it doesn't pin you back or anything like that, but you definitely can feel the power of it. Again, ride quality in most Subarus, but the Outback especially, it's just so buttery smooth. You hardly feel any of the bumps in the road or hear really any of the road noise either. It's a very well acoustically sealed cabin. And thanks to the ground clearance and just the, the way the Boxer engine helps with balance and things like that, it's just a really smooth ride. Another thing that's absolutely top notch in most Subarus, and Outback is no different, is just the cabin visibility. There are nearly 0 blind spots in this thing. Really easy to see out the rear window. The front glass is massive, very clear. Even the A-pillar has this additional window over here so you can see, and then all the way into that blind spot as well on the left or right side, depending on where you're sitting. And you do have blind spot monitoring as an additional safety feature there. But let's go ahead and test out that advanced adaptive cruise control. So we can go ahead and set it there. Let's set it at around 45 miles an hour. Oh, that's 65. That's not what we want. 45, there it is. It's a little green number underneath. And then since I've got my distance control settings set where they're at, it's keeping me pretty far away from this truck in front of me. If I go ahead and lower that down to its lowest setting, it'll speed me up a little bit to keep me closer to that truck. But this truck's about to come to a stop, so it's gonna slow me way down. I'm not applying any brake pressure right now, and it will slow me all the way down to a stop here so I don't hit this car, which is great. That car moved, so it's gonna keep going. Let's get over here and let's try this lane centering button. So it'll keep me between these well-painted lines here. That is kind of an important thing to know, is the lines do need to be pretty decently painted. You can see up there that it says active and shows the wheel with the green lines, and that's how you know it's working. And like I said, I'm not applying any brake pressure, any acceleration here, and I'm not touching the wheel, and it's doing most of it for you. It's a really nice semi-autonomous driving system here. This car in front of me is slowing way down, so it's slowing me all the way down. Again, no brake pressure being applied by me, and it took me around that curve nice and smoothly and brought me to a complete stop. I just made a video on the 2022 Hyundai Santa Fe, and it has a highway drive assist system like this, and this one is right up there with that system as far as a semi-autonomous driving system. This one doesn't even yell at you to put your hands on the wheel as much as that one does, so I have had my hands off the wheel for a decent amount of time so far. Oh, there it is, keep hands on the wheel. But it's taking me right around this curve. I didn't put any pressure on that, and again, it's slowing me right down. As far as the braking goes, the brakes are very sticky and responsive, as are most Subaru brakes. I mean, you can absolutely pin any vehicle with these brakes. Ease of use of the infotainment center, again, like I mentioned, with the climate control, it's a little finicky because there's a lot of small buttons to hit, but anything else that you're gonna be using, whether that's radio, Bluetooth, kind of the mapping system, any of those different types of features are pretty easily accessible since there's a decent amount of distance between the steering wheel and the screen itself. And a lot of it can be controlled, like I said, with the steering wheel buttons. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Drop a like on the video if you loved it. Tell me in the comments down below what is your favorite part of the 2022 Subaru Outback Touring XT. Let's have a conversation down in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to be among the first to see every single new video the second I hit publish. We'll see you in the next one.